And the recording has started.
Right, the August 2025 meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the SWPRD Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:00 p.m. We have a quorum present. Any public comments?
There is not.
All right, we will move on then to financial report, please, Brian.
Okay, pretty straightforward month. Wait, let me start this correctly. There we go. Revenue and expenditures are looking good. Property tax was a little lower than we were anticipating, but that just could be the timing of it. So nothing that was too askew. So everything's kind of in line with what we were anticipating at this time of year. So we're in the positives in both the revenue and the expenditures. The fund balances are looking strong. At that last $21,000, which again we're hoping to get rid of here in the not too short distance as we start enhancing that pickleball area up at the sports complex. But all of those are pretty standard from where they were last month. And then you'll start seeing a little bit of movement here in the construction fund. We cleared $1 million in expenses, which is great. This week, and I didn't have time to kind of vet it and have it for you tonight, but we got the cash flow from Lincoln Construction for the project. So, most months it's going to be over $1 million that we'll be approving to pay them. So that's good. That's the cash flow that their schedule has it completed by February of 27. So that's the process. So these numbers are going to look very different, very quick. Carrie and I, that cash flow helps Carrie and I because it allows us to time when we need to get that next $12 million, which is obviously very important. So we'll start that conversation with Jim Nelson and Deanna Gregory later this year, and then with a plan of doing that early in 26 and getting the money with plenty of cushion. So I think it's more work for us to split this in half, but it does save the taxpayers not paying on that 12 million earlier. So it's a little more hassle, but it is
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. So anyways, that's the simple financial report. And before I go to vouchers, any questions on this? All right, we will hop over to vouchers. There we go. The vouchers really didn't have anything all that exciting that I noticed. A couple things just that I pointed out. You'll see a lot of triathlon charges in here. My intention with the triathlon is to come back at the November meeting and really have an in-depth conversation about the triathlon and where the numbers ended up. And right now we're still getting invoices, so there's still stuff coming in, and we just don't have the time to really have an intelligent conversation. We also are, Sky's starting the process of reaching out to some other organizations to see if they'd be interested in either taking it over or partnering or those kind of things. So we're kind of in it's going to take us a few months. So November is what we've kind of targeted to have a deeper board conversation with you all about that. So, but for the voucher purposes, you'll just see a lot of triathlon charges, and those are just charges. And then there's one other thing, just an FYI, the diamond dust was in here. You'll see that later in Tom's thing. They're working on the infield. Sorry, I'm scrolling fast. I'm looking for green, which is here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, it's Tom's working on turf maintenance as we're getting ready for fall. Soccer season's coming, and getting the location set. So
is that diamond dust 2 times a year?
Yes. Yeah.
So spring and fall, it's roughly the same now.
Yeah.
Spring and fall, and the only place where we can get it.
Yeah, it's a nice business. It's a nice.
It's a good gig for this.
Yeah, I aspire to have a monopoly someday.
Yeah.
But it's important. It's a good product for what we do. So, yeah, not a lot on that either.
I didn't know where it was, but I did have one question.
Sure.
It was software.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is either. So let me scroll.
Maybe.
Oh, Sportsman. Yeah, Sportsman makes sense because that was in here. Oh wait, it wasn't.
But it's under a different name.
Yeah, the software it's our registration software.
Right. So my question was, that's the annual.
It's under Peak Software, and it is the annual fee.
It's the annual. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to verify it was the annual.
Hey, you're sounding healthier, Carrie. Good job. So Yeah, that's anything. Sport registration, Sky and Carrie and Corinne and I met the other week, started talking about all the things that we need to schedule because 18 months is going to be here really quick. And what we have to kind of get, we delegated kind of these kind of things like, okay, we need to look at registration software, and is what we currently have in Sportsman going to be good when we have all day point of sale transactions? And do they have the capability? We don't know yet, but they might have the capability. I don't know. But is there better options? So that's one of the issues we're looking at, is to say, okay, we're a much different facility when people are coming in all day and just paying. It's different than the kind of stuff we're doing now. So it's in the list. It's on the list. Yep.
I've gone through 3 different software
Oh,
companies
bless your heart.
with the island kayaking, so I'm happy to help.
Yes, we would love your help. Just because when I went to the conference last year, that was a great place to get all the information, because the NRPA conference was, there are booths everywhere. It's a huge auditorium of nothing but these things. And you go around, which I did, come from booth to booth, but I wasn't really in marketing it last year. And so now you're kind of looking, okay, what's the right value for the right needs? And also I've been through major transitions of software for this. It's complicated because you get used to doing it a certain way, and now you've got to do another way, and you got to train all your staff to do it that way. And yeah, you understand it's, but we want to get it established before we have 3 times more staff. We want to get it established where it's just the 4 of us figuring it out, and then bring in the new people and they won't know any different. So
is that payroll as well? Is it
No.
the whole?
That's just registration.
Incoming.
That's just,
registration?
programs and rentals and stuff like that. So
To manage staff as well as resources and space.
in our account edge, which does our credit cards with Island County, and they don't communicate either. So Carrie's having to run different reports at different times, and it'd be nice if we have to do our accounting stuff through Island County, stuff that Island County would approve, so they're the ones holding the money. So there's a little bit of that too. Can we find something that speaks to each other so that refunds and stuff are a lot simpler? And
I guess that's why I ask, my short-sighted vision of it is just, why is it all encompassing as opposed to, okay, now we're going to use this software for this purpose, and yet we're keeping track of payroll completely differently.
it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I think there's a Shark Tank opportunity right here. I think there's that.
Not everybody who's part of payroll is going to be necessarily connected to programming or things like that.
I get it, but I understand that aspect. It just seems like,
From another accountant standpoint. No, I understand.
yeah.
Should be so.
Should we say that?
And now you see why Carrie is so amazing. Because she juggles all of these different things
Yeah.
and understands them. So
Not that there isn't a lot of fun to one and done.
anyways, that's that one. The other thing I didn't highlight, but I'll point out, the Pacifica thing. Yeah, we've been using Pacifica a lot lately. Obviously, we've been dealing with very major contracts, and they've been great. Those Pacifica numbers should come down a little bit now as we've entered contract, and there'll be more consulting. So that is it. Any questions? Any other questions? On this one, this was about 5,300, and that wasn't even pool related. That was property tax and pickleball. So they are wonderful though. I don't know who found Pacifica, but they're such a great. They're just available. They're knowledgeable. They're easy to work with. So we're very fortunate with the stuff we're dealing with to have a legal team that is top notch. So helps a lot. Helps a lot. So.
Some motion.
I believe I need to recuse myself from the preliminaries
Yes, I think you could do that.
because
She's in there.
Oh, you're on it.
You're on that. Okay, well, we still have a quorum, so
Yep.
that's okay. Thank you for.
Yes, I forgot about that. So thank you for pointing that. So. And they're in the consent agenda, which you can recuse yourself from that part, but still approve the consent agenda with the other things. It's on the record that you recused yourself. Okay, well then we will. I guess move on to consent agenda.
And then,
yeah, I was wondering if we could just review, maybe pull or pull the project management
Sure.
from the consent agenda, or can we discuss it before?
We certainly can. Either one. We can discuss it and then you can decide, you can discuss it and then decide if you want to pull. Or to-
That
if-
works for
And
me.
what pull it would mean is that it's going to be a separate action item that you make a motion on separate.
You just have some clarification, we can leave it on the consent.
Yeah.
Correct. Just talk about
That would be great. All right,
Okay.
that's a. great. And I didn't have time to run the numbers. I guess
Correct.
what I got kind of caught on or just wanted some clarification. So what's part of our, we're just approving the contract for the rest of 2025.
Correct.
And there was, a phrase like saying like, figuring it out into 2026 would come later.
Right.
So, and I really appreciated the hourly and monthly breakdown provided by the person. That's great. I guess my question is that monthly, how does that work out with what they have been billing?
Great question. And I'll say that they're not getting a flat fee, they're getting an hourly fee. So for instance, last October, you approved them at a little over 200,000. And that was supposed to be going through March, because at the time we thought March was about the time we'd be entering contract. Well, it's just now coming to the end of that contract and we're almost in September. So while I asked them to provide something annually, reality is what you approve tonight you'll be authorizing the amount. And that amount will go as long as it goes. It might go to March next year, it might go to April next year. We just thought that it was, first of all, I will say, Bloom Projects is undeniably necessary for this project. And so, I know you're not arguing that, but I still got to go on the record and say this, we got to this point today because you guys had the foresight to hire them in the first place. But that's the logic. The logic is let's just get through the end of the year at least. And then we'll take that as far as we can. And then in 26, we'll have a much better idea for where we are in the project and what really the end of the project is going to look like. At that point, we'll come back to you guys for what we assume will be the rest of their contract. We're not really sure. We think it's going to be done in, spring of 26 with them. I'm sorry, spring of 27, a few months after the pool's open and, it takes a while to wrap that all up. But, there's still some things we don't know. So we thought we'd just take it in smaller chunks.
But it's budgeted already.
Yes, it's in the budget. It's in the pool
You're
budget.
saying that continuance of the contract itself,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We're not talking
Because
about
he has to sign.
Right.
Yeah, he's down to the end of what you guys approved last October. In the fund for them. It's about 18, I think he even mentions it.
$18,000.
There's about $18,000 left in that fund of what you guys approved. So. Yeah, I debated rather to bring the entire projected thing, but I thought that's probably gonna have to be it. And what I remind you is that they invoice us hourly. And I know what they work more or less because I'm in a lot of those meetings. So I've cross-checked some of that and they've been, obviously very integrative and we've never had an issue. And so they've earned my trust as far as what they're submitting and what they're turning in.
Your question you towards, getting paid while we're not actually doing anything at that time.
No, it was more about so we approved that. I guess where I got caught was, so we had proved in an amount and I didn't remember how long that was supposed to go.
Right.
And so okay, there's 18,000 left and it sounds like, yeah, it was supposed to have run out, but
We just kept going.
extended. But then in terms of, again, going back to that chart of hours and monthly per person, I was just kind of so what is this reality, right? It's for 5 months, but how real is that?
It's probably gonna go longer than 5 months. It's at least 5 months. And we won't come back to you in end of this year saying he ran out of money. Because that's part of it, is that, so you're approving the dollar amount, which will stretch as far as we can. And then we'll come back at the end of that when we really should know a real solid timeline for what they need to do. And we'll ask you to approve the rest.
But those were my
All right.
only questions, and I'm not disputing their.
Oh, and then, yeah,
So sometime in the spring of 26, we'll.
maybe late winter.
More than likely approve it.
Yeah.
One more question. So you said we probably would keep Bloom on through the opening of the pool.
Sure.
So they are also going to help us with the facility of getting it going in terms of operation?
Great question. No,
Because I thought really it was focused
Yeah.
on the construction.
it is. And no, they will not be involved in the operations other than budgeting for supplies and stuff. But there's work that gets done with the contractor after the building's open, right? There's checklists that still need to be done. There's warranty work. There's manuals that have to be drafted. It won't be anything to do with it. The day-to-day operation will be done completely by staff. But it'll be wrapping up the construction stuff and making sure that the contractor, when we say goodbye to the contractor, we'll say goodbye to Blue Project, right? I mean, so there's more work that goes on beyond the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Right. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
All those, oops, sorry.
I will second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Jake, I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. And Carrie will ensure that her recusal is in the minutes.
Yeah, you get that, Carrie?
Got it. I got it.
Sorry. This is mean to make her talk. It's just mean. I'm sorry. We can be better than that.
Moving on to the staff report, please, Brian.
All right, recreation programs, summer programs are winding down. Sky will be here in the fall to give you guys a full report of all the great stuff that's happened. I will say one of the highlights is he counted 430 people at the last concert in the park, which was amazing. Dr. Savage. Yeah, and so we have one more next Tuesday. So there's one more big event. He also, Sky started his initial Puzzle in the Park Day, which was a huge success. He had 8 teams out there competing, making puzzles, and they're looking at doing that a quarterly event, finding some indoor options. So that was a fun little niche. And then a lot of what he's doing now is fall field scheduling, lots of pieces, and it's more complicated when both the school and us are under construction. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Facilities, just normal business, turf maintenance, infield material, you saw that. The director report is a good news, I think. It could be good news. I had a meeting with Rachel Lim. It is Rachel, even though it looks like Rochelle, from RCO. She's our grant manager. We started talking about pickleball funding and if there would be more money available, because remember when we approved the pickleball project, our contingency was like 3%, maybe 4%. So we worked together and we're going to put a request into their director for another $45,000. That's the most we can request to the director. It's basically 10% of what they already approved. This would increase our contingency over, be more than a full 10% at that point. And then if it wasn't used, we would have money available for other projects as we're talking about all the other stuff we're doing. So that would more than fully fund the pickleball and probably give us a little extra money on the side. So we're supposed to hear back from the director in early September. So that could be a nice supplement to what we're doing. You'll remember for the pickleball, we're using some of our M&O money to offset that. The money we had reserved for the basketball court, the money we had reserved for, the well pump. So getting that 45,000 will free up some of our M&O money to do other stuff. So keep you updated on that. Tomorrow night, I'm going to the Parks and Aquatics Foundation meeting, where I'm going to talk about the upcoming levy. They have thrown out the possibility of doing a booth at the farmers market. They are not allowed to be a political group, but they can do what we do, which they were told they could be there and just inform. In other words, just the facts. So if that's something they're interested in doing, I'll let you know, because I think it would be great if all of us at different times maybe made an appearance just to show some support. But it would be an informational booth at the Bayview. At the very least, we want to get the information. So unless they form a PAC as a group, a political action group committee, they can't say vote yes, right? The individuals can, but the group can't. So there's that line we'll talk about tomorrow night about how they can support. My big thing is I'm fine with them just giving out information. I mean, I think when people understand the facts, then they have what they need to vote. So anyways, I'm gonna go there tomorrow night. They're having a potluck. So that'll be fun.
Last time we did that informational move, there were a lot of people who really didn't even know anything about the pool at all, period.
Right.
And that can easily happen on Whitby and or off.
Yes.
So it was interesting how many folks came by and just wanted basic information.
Yeah.
It wasn't, they weren't questioning the numbers and
Yeah. Was your pool?
financials as much as, hey, this is really
I will say, I saw the draft of, you guys appointed Marnie to the pro committee to write a statement for the thing, and I saw the draft of what she wrote. Exception. And it wasn't about the pool, because our levy's not about the pool, it's about our department. So her writing was spot on, and I think she really got it. So I think the big thing is we just don't want any water cooler talk saying things that isn't true, right? We just want to make sure that it's truth. And so, anyways, so a lot of fun tomorrow. I think this was Krista's idea. So I think you're the one that said you should go to one of their meetings. So go to one of their meetings.
If they are up for doing, some markets,
Mhm.
if they could consider doing 1 till.
Oh, good. I'll throw it into it. Other than,
Your goals.
yeah, which is target audience.
Yeah.
Sort of a good point. FYI, we are trading in one of our old mowers to offset the cost of the new mower that was just purchased. I don't know which one that is, but Tom's not here, so I'm not gonna know anything. Carrie wanted you guys to know that our financial compilation for 2024 is on our website, so the public or you can access. And then you have a flyer in front of you. The dates for the public meetings for the levy have been set. I can email this to you too. So Trinity Lutheran has generously offered to host us again. No, I didn't ask you. I mentioned it, but I just figured I could just call them myself.
Yeah.
And they were just very generous and very quick to respond. So we have a date there on the 30th. I'm sorry, the 24th. And then the next week we'll do it right across the campus here in the gymnasium. So we'll have one on the north end and the south end. And then I was thinking about a daytime, but instead of the daytime, I decided, as you can see, to throw a coffee hour in. And so every Monday from 10 to 11, I'm just going to box myself out. It does two things. One, it gives public direct access to me to come and ask questions. Second thing, it gives me an hour where I'm getting a lot of calls about people that just want to talk about different components of the pool or the pickleball or whatever. It gives an hour where instead of me trying to set side conversations all over my schedule, I can be like, I'm in coffee. And so I think it's a win-win as far as getting communication out and trying not to have 5 or 6 different side conversations during the week. So please try to make those. It'll be important for us to, I'll work on a PowerPoint and we'll work on the details. But the big thing is we just want the public to know what we're asking for clearly. I've already gotten some emails asking some of these questions. And we'll be happy to talk about it, right? We're just, we want them to be educated voters. And other things, nothing too much on here. We'll talk about the groundbreaking for the pool later tonight. And that is the staff report. Yes.
2 questions
Sure.
about the upcoming, informational campaign.
Yes.
So both of the dates are September. Do you
Yes.
need something in October, or do you think that the coffee with the director is enough?
The logic was the ballots come out about that time. And so once they're in people's hands, people start voting. And so we figured we get right ahead of, because they come out at the end of the month. So that was the logic, is try to get into their hands. We certainly can add a third, but that was the logic, was try to get ahead of it.
Or I would like to see one in October.
Okay.
Because once the ballot is in their hands and they go, oh. Now it finally hit their radar if they weren't already anticipating it. So I think there's value.
Or are we doing a mailer?
Yeah, I am working on the mail.
And the mailer definitely
Coincide with
needs
the
to
ballot.
be in October.
But we can
I
simply
would
move.
say like first week of October.
Yes, and that's, I've already got a draft of the mail like that. I'm debating how much information to put in, but I do have that done. I'll have that at the September board meeting if you guys are looking at it. We could simply move the meeting there instead of adding another one. We could simply have the one in the gym a week or two later. and put it to the first or second week of October. I mean, that's instead of adding the meeting, we could just. If we get a huge response on the 24th, if people are really wanting to have these deep conversations, it wouldn't be hard to add nothing. But we may get just the opposite too. People being like, we're good. I'm not gonna give up on Monday night or Tuesday night.
I think especially with the coffee and chat you're setting up, which I think is a great idea. Because I think some of the people are more comfortable in that environment than a gigantic environment, group environment.
Are you just doing one mailer or are you doing two?
I was only planning to do one. Kind of pricey, but
That's the all direct or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah. yeah, we'll do that too. I mean, Minuteman Press we used last time to put that all together.
But it like goes to postal.
Yes.
You said we're expecting the ballots to be in people's mailboxes end in September.
And in September, that's kind of early October, end of September is when we start getting the ballots for November. I'm just looking at my calendar real quick. So yeah, first, so I think the second one, because we wanted a Tuesday and a Wednesday, were kind of the logical thought processes there. Or on different days of the week. So I think the 30th is a Tuesday. So we can move it back to the we can do 3.
And we've traditionally done three, but
Three for the pool.
When I started, we did 2.
One
Methodist Church. I might suggest we do 2, and then if we do it like, let's say the 7th of October for the second one, if there's big public interest,
you can.
it's easy to add.
You can still add one.
Yeah.
Would be my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Because we may get the opposite. We might get people being like, no, I'm good. I'm willing to talk about this. It's just, we might get 5 people. We might get 50. So should we move it back
It
to,
has an option that to have one in October rather than schedule it right now.
well, right now we move it back to the 7th of October, 14th?
I was thinking just like the 7.
I would not. I would go these dates because people in school mode and parents that are overwhelmed with school meetings, all the school meetings are at that time.
In October.
No, it's the beginning, aren't you saying earlier?
No.
No.
Oh, you're saying October.
October.
I thought you.
Move it back a week.
I'm thinking these are 1 week after each other.
Oh, you mean just in between?
I just mean
I
like
agree.
taking the 30th
Yeah.
and moving it out 1
October.
week to the first week of October.
Done.
And then
Easy.
if the mailing lands like October 12th, 13th, 14th,
Just reinforce it.
just like,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
With no objections, I'll make that happen.
Right, I
It's easy.
really appreciate that coffee with the director.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bacon does that too. And I think I haven't gone to any of those, but I know people that have. And it's just like really the transparency. Just saying, hey, come here. I think that's a great idea. I hope.
And if no one shows up, it gives me an hour where I have nothing on my calendar and get work done. So it's a win-win. It really is. It's good for us. It's good for them.
So you want to say, take the 30th and make it the 7th, just do it.
What day is it?
It's a Tuesday.
Just Tuesday.
Thought process. We talked about different days of the week. Monday, you avoid Mondays and Fridays and Thursdays football season. So I don't know how big football is in this community, but we thought Tuesday's safe. Okay, good. I'll make those changes and get that out. Any other questions on the staff report? Otherwise, that is it. Staff report.
I was gonna add something to the pickleball. I mentioned this groundbreaking the other day, but Newman family, Pam did get hold of me, that's the mother, and Riley and Lindsay are thinking, and this is just something they threw out, and I thought it was a reasonable request. They would like to do something substantial of meaning, and they threw out bleachers, spectator bleachers.
Interesting.
So I said, well, I would throw it out to the masses and see if
Interesting.
people think that's a good idea. I mean, I know that the issue of bleachers is moving bleachers and
Where they would go, because we have a platform underneath them.
they're just throwing it out. I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
yeah, I think it's a great idea because I think people will come and watch. And we were talking a little bit after groundbreaking about having tournaments, having that ability to do that.
Right,
And that's where you start getting people wanting to sit, and granted, they can sit around the outside,
right.
but the nice thing about bleachers is there's elevation.
Yeah, no, bleachers are better for us. We did have someone from the public contact us this week. She's interested in buying a bench. She's raising money to, I don't want to give details because she didn't want to share details. But I said, Sky was dealing with her and I talking to her and I said, well, anything in the park just has to be approved by the board. So if we're going to add a dedication bench is what this would be. Similar, if these be, yes, I think the only thing with bleachers I would ask is, would we have to think about where they go? Like where physically would we have to add some asphalt or some cement, which is doable. That's just something so it might have to be something that happens after.
Yeah, I don't think we need to jump into it
Yeah.
that way, so.
I think
it's cool that, I don't want to.
I love that
I
idea.
don't want them to lose that momentum either.
Right.
It's kind of cool. They want to do something
Yeah.
substantial, so.
I like substantial. Substantial is one of my favorite words.
The bench you're talking about would be on the exterior, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Or-
They would. And we haven't talked specifics with them yet. What we said was that you have to kind of basically come and make a public comment to the board with the specific how much money you have. They're raising money for this. And they said, yeah, that's a good first step. And I said, we're not gonna do anything before ribbon cutting because we just don't have the bandwidth, but there's time for that. And then staff will work with you to, if the board approves, to work out the logistics and what kind of bench we need and that kind of stuff. So that conversation you're having with them that's exciting. It shows that energy that's happening for this project right now. So we are available and open. We sign up.
Actually, too, could also be a Eagle Scout project as well. Probably not bleachers, that's too good.
Love our Eagle Scouts.
We'll move on to committee and community meeting reports if there are any. Moving on to unfinished business, comprehensive plan programs.
All right, we got a lot of fun stuff going on, as we all know. Well, the pickleball, thank you all for attending the groundbreaking on Monday. That was a huge success. The pitcher, I'll show you the pictures in a second. Actually, I'll show it to you now. So I counted over 60 people in our picture, and there's a few more people that were off to the side. So what a great turnout. Great celebration. Just a great moment. You guys all look sharp in your hats. So the construction really got underway today. If you go up there now, you'll see the fencing up and you'll see Tyler Morley's up there in and ready. So we have closed off completely. You probably saw the start of that, but it's even more obnoxious now. The trail going down into the woods there is boxed off with clear signage saying that there's no trail access. Please park at the community park and try the other way. It won't be long, but that's, just for safety reasons.
What about the main access to the woods right there?
Right.
Because there's a secondary one if you look at the woods on the left, right? Much smaller, goes down, get the name of the trail.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the little, like, it kind of connects that way.
Track.
Yeah. I would think that we're telling everyone that we're talking to that just park at the community park, just because you're coming through a construction zone.
Sure.
But if you're in the park, you would be able to come up the hill, take that little dirt track and get out of the single track.
Yeah. It's just easier. It's easier if they just, for the next month or two, just park. It's a beautiful park.
Less confusing.
And the nice thing is you start your hike going up and then you come back down. So it's nicer at the end of the hike. So we are notifying schools and putting on Facebook, not just this project, but just our construct. This is it's gonna be a little tricky for us. I've already been in contact with the schools, the Island Christian Academy and the elementary school. Susie Richards already responded with, we're not telling people not to come to our parks, but we're saying, listen, if your teachers are going to come to the park, we really need to know in advance. Give us 48 hours so that we can get with the contractor to see if there's anything closed, if there's anything hazardous going on, or trees falling, whatever there is, just communicate with us. We've asked them before, they're pretty good. Same thing, we started conversations. There's a lot of cross country happening this fall, and that's going to be a real challenge when we have closed off trails. They have some really major events, one in particular, the Westland, that happens every year. So we don't know what the impact that's going to be, but we told the school there could be. And that trail in front of the water tank, which is part of their loop, could be closed off. And when it's closed off, it's not us closing it off. When you sign a contract with the contractor, they are liable for that area. So in other words, when they close it off, it's not us going to them saying, please open it up. We don't have that right. Because they're the ones taking the liability and the responsibility. So we started a good conversation with John Sommer, the AD, and they're doing the same thing at the school. So he understands what we're saying. But we've been really clear with Lincoln, the contractor, like, we're not telling you what to close and what not to close. We just need to know what you're going to close and when. Because, we need to let schools know what they have access to. So anyways, a little bit tricky as far as balancing 3 projects on 3 sites between us and the school and what's open and what's closed. And it's going to, it's a bit fluid because this trail might be closed for tree falling this day, but open the next day. And so we're just going to have to stay on top of it. So
When is the meeting?
20th of September. That's where they bring like 40 schools in, and
It's a big one.
it's a big one. And we want, as I told John we want to be accommodating, but we can't do it. It's black and white for us. It's not us making a judgment call. They're going to tell us, and maybe they'll tell us that they're not clearing that area yet. They'll be just fine. Okay. So, and John's great. It's been very like, yeah, well, they're rolling with it at the school, just like we're rolling with it now. So we're all just kind of making it work. So, anyway, so that's one of the things we're working on. And then for pickleball, the initial schedule for substantial completion is October 7th. Substantial completion is when ribbon cutting happens and they go play. And then when we have that firmed up, we'll set a ribbon cutting event with a nice celebration. So hopefully we'll get as big a crowd as we got for the groundbreaking. The great pictures, those haven't gone on Facebook yet because we put a post about trail closures on there and I wanted to give it a couple of days. I'll put this on probably tomorrow. The aquatic center contract, as you know, has been signed. I have an initial schedule, but they're still tweaking it a little bit. Again, right now their schedule has it on 18 months, which would have them completed by February of 27. That's not a firm date yet, as we all know, construction projects have many things. So that brings us to the groundbreaking ceremony for that, which at this point is going to be next week, because we want to get the ground broken before trees start falling all over the place. So yeah, we're now looking at dates next week with some internal conversations. We were talking about now maybe next Friday, which we appreciate is the day before the long weekend. But we're thinking about the morning, like 10 o'clock, very similar agenda as far as, a few key speakers and some photo ops. I need to find some shovels and go like that. So I guess my question is Friday morning next week, the 29th, any problems? Okay, good. And I realize you guys have jobs and you're not, I don't expect you guys all to be at all of these, but does that day work? Is there a huge objection?
There is in the morning. Was there any chance?
Killing me.
I know.
He's killing. Yeah, tell me what you can do.
You just said moments ago you all have jobs.
That's a good point.
Followed by
But I thought you said earlier you didn't work on Friday. Did he say that? Maybe I heard you. That's all right. Yeah, we can do it in the afternoon. I mean, assuming they move 1 o'clock like we did before.
yes,
Yeah, it's fine.
and that would be great.
I can do morning, but not after.
Ah,
That's okay. I know Eric has been much more involved, so that.
we did noon straight up. Yeah, the part of the reason for doing it Friday is so we have at least one member of the JCC who's put so many years into it.
Yeah.
Eric.
should be there.
So if we do Friday, the 29th at 1. Yeah, okay. I'm
That's okay.
going with
That's okay.
quietness. What I'm saying is we're gonna get,
I can go later if needed.
I'd rather, just because people may be going out of town,
I'm just saying.
I like to do, going into a camping weekend, I like to hit people up as early as possible.
Yes. I'm going to the job fair that day. We're going probably right around you.
This film. So we're good? 1 o'clock on the 29th? All right. And that is it for the top line report.
So is that set? Should I
You
Put it
can,
on your calendar.
yes, I will put something out tomorrow to the paper and to the Aquatics Foundation. I'll talk to them tomorrow night. And I will also let Lincoln know, the contractor and all the other key stakeholders.
I just want to make sure that I caught that correctly. It was 4 o'clock on the, I'm sorry, 1 o'clock on the 29th.
Yes, 4 o'clock Eastern. So, so yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, that is comprehensive plan report. We're getting very good at these little cities.
So I'm probably gonna cry.
Aw.
Here's a joy. And a journey.
Great, so, moving on to new business then, please, Washington, well, WWRP Trail Loop Grant.
Sure. Last fall, we were notified that we did not receive the grant that we submitted for a trail loop around the new aquatic center. We were recently notified by RCO that additional funds have been allocated. And through the allocation that they can now fund this project. The project would create a walking trail around the facility along with lights, a kiosk. It would also pay for 21 of the aquatic center stalls. The 21 stalls is an estimated savings of around $50,000, which would be savings of the pool project. The terms of the grant, though, are that we would receive up to $462,000, a little over that. However, we have a matching portion of a little over $437,000. And that's where I think it hits the road a little bit. So if you deduct the savings we'd have from the pool project, our responsibility would be about $387,000. And that's if we do the whole project as submitted. At this time,
It's almost a 50% now.
it is a 50% match. I think there's some funding in there that may be something else, but it is a 50-50 match. That's why that and other reasons staff are recommending not accepting this grant. Between the pickleball and the aquatic center, our discretionary funds are very stretched. Staff can create a trail around the center, which was the current plan. When we didn't have funding, the plan was for Tom to create the trail. And we all know Tom does amazing trails. So to make this economically worth the investment, we would have to take so much out of this project that RCO would no longer be. For instance, if we went to RCO and said, we just want you to buy the gravel and, pay for the parking and, so they weren't interested in making it that small. But arguably, if that didn't convince you, the last one probably will. And I forgot to put this in your memo last week, so I put it in red. RCO would require us to have the trail designs approved by them prior to ground description, which means before ground is sure. We can't put a shovel in the ground until they sign off on it. And just like they did with pickleball. So at that point, you're at least a month out and your groundbreaking next week is no longer next week. So, I mean, had we got it the first time, the trail was part of the plan. It was inside the plans. It was integrated. We had a lot, when we took it out, it's no longer there. So it just it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I hate to say no to that, but it would cost us so much that we don't have. And when we're trying to put money towards pickleball and the aquatic center and other things, it just doesn't. And it would delay our pool project, which has escalation costs. So
Is there a particular, is there a design requirement or anything for their vision of what this trail would look like? Something above and beyond what we're thinking,
it would have to be done by a landscape architect. So I think the vision might be the same, but what they would have to approve would require us hiring a landscape architect, having them get designs, and then having us give those designs to RCO for approval. And that's where it's just like the time it would take.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I meant was, are they talking like a semi-permeable type of surface, something that would be, better than what we normally build our trails with?
I think
Or is it just,
I think that money would have asphalt, and so that's something that might cost us down the line if we want to asphalt it. It had kiosk, which
Lights.
and lights. It had lights. Eagle Scout. Eagle Scouts are wonderful for kiosks. And solar lights can be used. Yes, it would be a nicer version if we did this. But for $400,000 in a month delay, it just, that's the, if it was like, the money wasn't equal and it didn't cause a delay, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, it's a better, I think we would have it asphalted, we would have it lit. But we'd have to wire those lights, we'd have to figure that out coming off of, oh, and then we'd have to do permitting. Lots of permitting. And honestly, I would be concerned that the trail going around the building on the west side might be too close to the road. Right now, the plan is to just, Tom's Trail is planning to use the existing sidewalk that's part of the building. But if you add a trail around that side, you're now dealing with setbacks and other things.
I know, one of the reasons I brought that up is in our initial discussions about it, a big chunk of it was we were looking at other tools that had something like this. And granted, many of them are more urban based, right? But the idea was you're also not muddying up your shoes and then coming back to a pool facility where you don't really want that. Yes, that can be remedied, but that was the concept. I believe the thought of having an asphalt or, permanent type of path, but would not track things back to the pool was where that came from.
That makes sense.
And I'm not supporting it, I'm
Right.
just saying, I know that's one of the reasons I asked that question.
Well, this is a simple thing to add into our long-term budgeting is asphalting that loop. But they will, when they do the loop, they're gonna have to enter through the main door, so they won't be able to access the pool side there either. So some of those designs have changed over time where I think initially the patio was a little bit more of an open concept, as I remember.
But I think it was still designed to go around the
Yeah.
outside. Yeah. The perimeter.
So we will get a trail. My suggestion would be just not at this cost or
And
impact.
then listen to the community too, if we did a simple gravel trail around there. If we get suggestions that, hey, we really like this asphalt, then maybe down the road we could, but maybe the public isn't into an asphalt trail. I don't know.
Well, we'll also have to be able to track usage, right? We'll see if people are taking advantage of that. I think the vision is we lost our walking trail up above. So we need to give, parents who drop their kids off for swim lessons, gives them a chance to get out, get some exercise.
While staying in proximity, because
Right.
somebody would say, well, why don't you just go use the other trails? Well, that's not the idea. The idea is that they're within shouting distance. of
Yes.
kids.
Well, we don't want junior left alone. So anyways, so if you concur, then I would just entertain a motion as written or something like that, but that gives me authority to say no.
Make a motion to, give the executive director, the powers to. I make a motion to, reject the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program Trail Loop.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to reject the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program Trail Loop Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Erica,
Krista, aye.
Jake,
For aye, all those opposed say nay. Have it, and the motion passes.
Now, I'll throw into that too, when I was talking with Rachel, our grant manager, I let her know this was a possibility. Wanted to make sure that I was expressing how appreciative we are that they reconsidered us, that we appreciate the funding. She understands that we're in the middle of two major projects. I did ask her about the $2 million grant, because you remember there were two grants that were applied for this, and the one that really would have impacted us majorly. Unfortunately, that one was off the table. It was only this one they were considering. But I did make sure to build that bridge of relationship to let them know that we appreciate them and what they're trying to do for us.
Moving on to signing authority.
All right, so over the course of construction of the aquatic center and the pickleball courts, we're getting significant invoices that need to be approved in a timely manner. And if they're not approved in a timely manner, then we're either gonna have to add more special meetings or we're gonna have delays. A good example of that was our simple building permit. It was a $33,000 charge that we ended up having Mark Bloom and Bloom Projects agreed to pay for it. Because they, and then they'll bill us accordingly. But there's an example of, hey, Island County calls us and says, we're ready with this permit. And I couldn't say yes. And that would have potentially caused us to have to approve that tonight. And then what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks would be pushed on, say the delays that happen. So what I'm proposing is, and this is specific to, and this is a resolution, and that was in your board packet, but here is the meat of the resolution. This is Exhibit A. The following authorization relate exclusively for items or work for the construction of the South Whitby Aquatic Recreation Center, and or, I should say, the 6 outdoor pickleball courts being built at the sports complex. So this resolution will be in effect until those are completed, and then this resolution will age out. There's 2 parts to it. One is for the direct purchases for the by the staff. In other words, if we have to buy something directly that we're paying for. And it gives me signing authority to make a purchase up to $50,000 for capital outlay purchases strictly related. And then the other part's a little bigger. And this is approval for work to be done by contracted agencies, such as a change order or work directly related to the project. This would allow me to authorize, I'll just read it. The executive director will be authorized to approve up to a limit of $200,000 per transaction, not to exceed the cumulatively, the contingency for the project. So as an example, the contingency for the pool is 2.4 million. So if we got to the top of that, which hopefully we won't, there would be a cap. And any transaction over 15,000, which is my current signing authority, will require written approval from either the board chair or the auditing officer, which in this case would be Chris or Jennifer. So in other words, I'm not going rogue. So in other words, an example would be with that permit, I might call and say, Jennifer, can you shoot me an email saying that you're okay with us doing this? I also would get permission from Carrie to make sure the funds are in place. The funds for the aquatic center aren't quite as important in this because we have the construction fund, but the pickleball comes out of a different M&O. So it just unties my hands. We're going to be getting change orders. Some of them, they may not be large, but we will get some change orders that we don't want to delay this project at all. And I don't want to be calling a bunch of special meetings. So that's the resolution base. That's the meat of the resolution, is approving it like this. Yep.
My questions were, are those amounts high? And to that,
Mhm.
how did you determine these?
Conversations. I mean, we did a little bit of research into this. Like Carrie had talked to Paul Field over at the school district, because how do they view it? And it sounds like, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like one of the things they do is their board approves it after it's been purchased or after it's been, like, in other words, they don't have to get pre-approval for some of the stuff they're doing. I think it's enough because anything more than 200,000, for instance, probably should come before we say yes. Right. That was kind of the line in my head was, what number is it worth waiting an extra week or a special week?
Thinking 250.
A week could be 250. I mean, the number was, I would say, random. It was based on conversations with ARC and Bloom Projects about what kind of change order should we be expecting.
So the whole permit, that makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to me that he needed authority to be able to pay for that permit, because to his point, Highland County just says, hey, look, we did your file and here you are. The language in here about it being for a change order, that's not gonna just come out of the blue. We will have discussed that. We'll kick it back. He'll get the numbers for whatever that change order is going to cost. We shouldn't have to wait a whole nother month or call a special meeting to say.
But we may get a change order you haven't discussed. I mean, they might be digging up the ground and be like, hey, we found this. I don't know what this would be. But the ground clearing seems to be a high change order time from what I understand. And they may call and say, hey, it's gonna be an extra 50,000 because we found this in the ground and we have to, they're digging up the old trailer's septic and water tank. Who knows what they're gonna find when they get in that. They might say, hey, we need to, that might be an example of something where you guys haven't really discussed it. But hey, we gotta keep clearing, and I don't want to.
That didn't enter my head as a change order. I was looking flat out construction, so thank you for.
Yeah, I mean, change orders, anything that isn't in the specs that we sent. So we sent the 1,900 pages to them. Anything outside of that 1,900 pages that causes work will be vetted by Mark and Bloom Projects and ARC to make sure it's legitimate. So they are the ones that kind of give me the thumbs up that, yeah, this is needed. But that's an example. So it may not happen all that long. Whatever we can bring to the board meeting, we will. So if it's not a time sensitive thing, I'd rather have you guys just sign off and say yes.
Is it Krista and Jennifer or Krista?
Or I just think it's one other person. That's the way we roll.
One of us and Carrie.
Yeah. So it's in other words, if Jennifer wasn't available, or I can go and just say, hey, if you're approving, and then we'll bring it to the board as an FYI. This is what we did. But the change orders, particularly with Mark. Mark is very. You can tell he's very aggressive about not wanting to approve change orders. So, I mean, there will be some. That's why we have the 2.4 million in contingency. But Mark will fight to the nail. But it's all about what's in the 1,900 pages that we sent out. If it's in there, then they've got to do it. They can't ask us for more money. If it's not in there, then okay, we didn't see that one coming, and that's why we have the contingency. So this just frees up my hands. It just allows me to keep moving without having to, I mean, I like special meetings. You guys are great to talk to, but I think it's just
Well, especially where we're at now with expediting the process. This is a different ballgame than normal.
Yeah.
Because we're already drug it out so long.
yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, if you told Carrie we'd be talking about these kind of numbers, Carrie would be laughing hysterically because it'd be, that's like 3 times our operating budget.
So back to Krista's point, is 200 enough? Do we want 250?
But I'm hearing Brian say,
So we think
Yeah.
200.
The thing is, if it's 220,000 and I need it right away, then that's when I would call a special meeting. And I don't think that's likely to happen. I don't think we're gonna get all these, from what I understand, a lot of the change orders will be less than that. That's why the number kind of came up. And a lot of them, they say the change orders get kind of clumped together. There might be 2 or 3 on the same change order, but those are 2 or 3 different authorizations. So I think 200 is probably enough. And
Further discussion. Take a motion.
a motion to approve resolution 202506 executive director signing authority during construction.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2025-06, executive director signing authority during construction. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Jake,
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Expanding office space.
I want to, and I know I said this in the memo, I'm gonna say it again. I never want to bring back to you something you've already decided. But in our special meeting, there was a lot of pieces, and when Carrie and I were talking after the special meeting, I think with all the things we were presenting to you that night, this was the one that I think I did the worst job of kind of explaining the pros and cons of. So if you'll indulge me, even though you've already decided this, I'd like to at least bring it back to you for a little future conversation. And if at that point you still feel the same, that's fine. But I kind of want to lay out what I didn't lay out well the last. So again, I'll just read this. Staff appreciate that the board decided not to include the expanded office space at the July 28th meeting. Staff believe we did not do an adequate job outlining the expected cost of not having this space, and we did not provide alternate fundings for this option. To that end, we're asking the board to revisit this issue, and if agreeable, to vote to approve, as long as one word, adding the space back into the project. Lincoln Construction said they will honor the price, which with tax included was $191,488, if the decision was made to approve. The outline of this is this. We currently have 5 administrative spaces. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With our staff plan now, we're gonna need about 5 more, and that's if we don't do any other growth. That's separate from the aquatics. Aquatics have their own area. This is just admin. Right now, the current plan with the reduced space is there's enough for two staff over there, which means we're gonna have to find space for at least 3 to 4 more staff. We're gonna have to rent a space, basically. Based on what we currently are doing here, which is, I think, the least expensive option for renting space, the school district or the community center. Carrie and I, we started working the numbers. We figured it'd be about $17,000 a year with the lease and the other expenses of that office space. Plus we'd have some one-time purchases initially. So the logic being, okay, so it's $191,000. If it's $17,000 a year, that's if the costs don't go up of the rent, and you assume it will.
That 17, just to be clear, is additional, not what you're paying.
Correct. That's because we'd have to have space for these extra staff. So you're looking at having to rent a space.
So you rent more of this facility, you're.
Potentially, if it's available.
So
Correct. Or maybe the community center, which is a comparable price structure. We're just trying to find the cheapest option for additional space. It also splits our staff into threes, which is okay. So you're looking at about 10 or 11 years or so till you've kind of made your $191,000 back. But the bigger thing is, and this is something Carrie worked feverishly on, and the question is, can we pay for this? Can we afford it without diving into the pool budget? And I think the answer clearly is yes. Staff, we've created an initial 2026 budget, which we'll be diving into over the next few months. And we put three big numbers in there that were negative impacts on the budget. What we did is we created, I can say Carrie created a draft of the 26 budget, but we put three components in there that I don't think will happen. One is in that draft of that 2026 budget, we put that the levy would fail. I don't think it's going to fail, but we put that it would. So we'd stay at the 22-cent levy in 2026. We also put in there that we would go and get the LTGO, which is the bond to pay for the rest of the construction, early in the year, and basically pay the $475,000 of payments that, which logically we won't, right? Especially if the levy doesn't pass, we're not going to go out and take a big debt early in the year. We're going to wait till the end of the year. But for this purpose in the budget, we put it in there just to show that we could the budget hold the weight of it. And then on top of that, we added 191,000 and change for this office. And what we did was we moved capital projects out a little bit. We started moving some of the other big numbers in the budget that could be pushed into 27 or 28, and we balanced the budget. Again, I'm saying we, but it's full effort. So what we did was we showed we can pay the $191,000 next year out of M&O and not impact the pool budget and get that office space. That's something we just didn't have time to vet properly on the meeting of the 28th. And when I realized that, I'm like, well, we can pay for this, not have to pay $17,000 a year in rent and other things. Keep the staff more concise on 2 locations instead of 3, because who knows where that other staff would be. And it started making a lot more sense to have this back. For your consideration. And Carrie, if I say anything wrong, feel free to know. So, because she's
No,
working.
I did want to say, not speaking against this, just making sure that it's clear that this
Sorry,
would.
Carrie, you're breaking up. We can't hear you. I'm just kidding.
Just to say that even if we do expand the staffing at the aquatic center, that does not mean that all of the current staff will fit in that building. So, but it does, like he said, consolidate staffing. The people that are related to more closely to the operations there will be all together. But, Brian and Sky and myself wouldn't fit in that footprint. But I'm not trying to speak against it, just definitely.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You get back up here. It's if it's expanded, if you got rid of the conference room and made those office spaces there, you could have up to 7 office spaces there. So we need 10. So you're still going to need a spot like this, which is fine. We knew that. So anyways, that is my full explanation of this office space, and would love your comments or thoughts.
We do not currently have an option for expansion here.
We haven't talked to them if there's space available.
To me, that seemed just off the top of my head, like a more logical move than the community center.
Yes. If there was space here, this would be option A. I'm just saying the price point of the community center is similar. So that's why I was saying if we needed a spot, if they didn't have a spot here, we clearly would rather be closer to the.
Maybe it's just me, but I just have trouble envisioning 3 different office entities with Park and Rec scattered about. I mean, that's how I like quick synapses of it.
Yeah.
Not good for culture.
I don't think so. For sure.
So, kind of, that was a couple of things.
Sure.
Is there a smaller space here?
Not that they're all kind of classrooms. So not that I'm aware of. I think they're all about this size. And you know, if you think you need 3 more spaces at least, that's what we're projecting. I mean, you got 4 full-time staff, we have 5 spaces, we have 4 full-time staff there. Putting 3 people on one side of a cubicle would be comfortable. I mean, you could do it, but it would be, yeah. That's good.
Part of my thought in that, when I say 3 different entities, is you're also across the street from the pool, which is much more helpful than down the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. agree with that.
That's a little different animal. And I would say the same, like, I know there was talk about taking that whole building, the old parking lot building with now the county has.
Yeah.
It's, I know, but I'm just saying that to me makes way more sense than
Yeah.
the proposal of having 3 different potential buildings.
Yeah.
But 3 different places.
I, the conversation last month circled a lot around trying to keep this cost of the pool as inexpensive as we can make it, which is why we found it in our M&O. So this is separate from the pool budget, right? We're saying we can fund this out of moving capital projects back a year or 2. Or if the levy passes and we don't do the LTGO towards the end of the year, we even have more flexibility. So
yeah, nothing is cheaper. And I think if we have the money, capital projects or with the levy, and you don't have to rely on renting as many spaces. And like you said, rent can go up, 17,000 to that's ballpark number that we put together right
Yeah.
now. But 10 years from now, 5 years from now, probably going to be more. I lean and I try to be very fiscally responsible, and I think this is me a more fiscally responsible decision to get more staff together, not have to rely on renting space, 2 spaces actually, and do it now because putting a portable there or somebody building another structure down the road
Yeah.
will cost more. And maybe we need to, but it would be
It would be a
less.
smaller portable.
probably just smaller.
Yes, talk about less stuff.
And definitely, I'm on board with it.
I have some more questions.
sure.
Of the 10, are those all full-time?
Yes.
And do they all, is that as of 2027?
Yes.
And which capital projects would be moved out?
That I don't carry. You have a thought on that? Just pay much more than. You hear the question, Carrie?
Yeah, sorry, I'm navigating.
Okay.
So what that would be is moving. Okay, so originally we had budgeted, or I guess forecasted to spend 130,000 on replacing a certain mower. And that was actually going to happen in 28. And now Tom feels that it would be best to replace that in 26. So it's replacing it in 27 instead. So that was one item.
That's 130,000, I think.
Yeah, that's 130,000.
And
And
it was scheduled for 2028.
yep,
Tom wants it in 2026.
yep. It's been getting pieced together and having a lot of cost for
It was
repairs.
moved into the 26 budget a while ago, and then now it's being pushed back.
Being pushed back to 2027.
Yes.
But maybe we try to do something like we recently did with, if we buy this now, can you give us?
Yeah.
I got it.
Well, and again, if we don't do the LTGO and we pass the levy, all this is mute. We have money for that mower in 26. So it'd be easy to move that back.
What else?
I think that's actually the only thing we shuffled. So in my forecast, it's in 27. And, if the levy passed at the higher amount, that would possibly be able to fit back into 26. I think that is the only thing that I moved. And then it just fit.
We still have next year the Trust and Trails paving to happen. So we still have, it's not like we're getting rid of everything we're doing. And there's something else smaller, the fence at the community park is in next year's budget to
Yeah.
finish the fencing along the side. So it isn't like we gutted all this stuff.
No.
But the mower, one more year of calm. The reason to replace that mower, it's an old mower, it's 2014. They're just having to continually patch it together. There's a lot of mechanical. So could they get another year out of that if they had to? But I honestly, I don't think they'll have to. I think between either not doing the LTGO right away or the levy passing or both, I think we'll be fine. Questions? Again, this is not common practice. I hate coming back to you with something we've talked about already. I just felt like there was so much information in that last meeting, and I hope you don't take this as me, I'm totally fine with your decision tonight, whichever way you guys want to go. Coming out of the blue. So if you're positive towards it, I would entertain a motion. Otherwise, I mean, do you want more discussion or do you have concerns?
You all don't need to. I'll make a motion to authorize the executive director to reject deductive alternative number 2, which has reduced the size of the administrative offices at South Bay Aquatic Recreation Center, and to approve the change order in the amount of $191,488.
Second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to authorize the executive director to reject deductive alternate number 2, which had reduced the size of the administrative offices at the South Libby Aquatic Recreation Center, and to approve the change order in the amount of $191,488. All those in favor say aye.
Just on,
Jake, got it.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
And it is a change order because the contract's been signed, but the change order will be funded out of it won't be funded out of the full funding. So. Thank you.
Could you tell me, sorry, I'm not being there, who made that motion?
Jake made the motion, Eric seconded it.
Okay.
We are adjourned at 7:13.
Stop recording in about 3